I ain't leaving.
We need intermission.
Because you're a charter member, right?
Yeah. What do you mean, am I a charter member? Yeah.
I'm saying you're not leaving, are you?
They're just going to a restroom break.
All right. I've done some foolish things in my life, but one of them was suggesting that JW precede me. Thank you, JW. I'm going to wait a little bit on my part because I want all the charter members who are still with us to be here. And I want to call on one of our charter members who is our unofficial historian, Brother Thurman Allred, and he's going to help us understand some of the process that friendship has gone through in its development until we have come to this point. Brother Thurman?
You notice I have notes. You know, the brother just left out one thing about what Central used to be. We used to have a church softball association. And Friendship could always hold their hand with everybody but Central. Our record, I think, would probably be somewhere around 10 losses and 1 win. And then I'm thinking, from all of that beating that they did to us, and now our one. So that's one thing that he left out. Now, my job is to tell you about how Friendship was established. First of all, the Groves was thought of as Main Avenue down to Wilson Avenue, 39th Street, over to Monroe. Basically, under the pecan trees, that was what was considered the Groves. Now from 39th Street over to 32nd Street was called Little Farms. And it went from Main Avenue down to Pure Atlantic Road. 32nd Street was not 32nd Street, it was the Country Club Road. And the Country Club Road went all the way down to the marsh by the Atlantic Refinery, and that's where the Port Arthur Country Club was. So that was the boundaries that we chartered under. Now, First Baptist Groves was in its present position. I think the next Baptist church was either 9th Avenue Baptist Church or Pear Ridge Baptist Church. It was on 9th Avenue between 25th and 32nd Street. So there was nothing between there and First Baptist Groves. So we had 3 men, and for whatever reason, I can only remember the name of one of them. But they got together, and it was not a split. He mentioned 2 or 3 times of splits. Well, this was not a split. These guys just got together and said, you know, we have a lot of area, and the population at that time in 1951 was 1,300. So there was a lot of opportunity that was going to come that they could see. I'm 22 years old, I can't see anything. But these guys had a vision that things to come. So they began to meet, and it seemed like every week that we met, there was a larger group. So finally, in 1951, we had a meeting in a tent down near where the collision center is now on 32nd Street. And Brother Martin from, he was associational director, but he was a pastor of South Baptist in Bridge City, Second Baptist in Bridge City. And Brother Oscar Perkins was there from Memorial Baptist. And guess what? The main speaker was James Mormon. So when you people came in to Friendship, you didn't do anything big, you were just coming home. Brother Mormon was the man that we could go to with every problem and get an answer to everything that we needed in organizing a church. He went above and beyond anybody else in helping us. So I kind of feel like I'm part of him. And he was a jewel. So in our tent meeting, Brother Perkins, he brought our devotion that morning. This was our organizational meeting. And Brother Mormon was our main speaker. After that, we were chartered on October 7, 1951. We decided to have a 2-week revival. Can you imagine a 2-week revival in a tent? I remember hauling sawdust from Port Arthur Planing Mill down on Gulfway Drive to put on the ground. I mean, and I'm thinking now, I can't even hardly get from the house out to the car without air conditioning. So, Brother Martin from Bridge City led our revival. And after a 2-week revival, we had 69 charter members. Then the church decided that we would extend that charter member time another 2 weeks, and at the end of that month, we had 136 members. Now these members all came from 15 different churches. So we were pretty well, everybody was pretty well represented. At this time, Brother Harold Lindenmeyer was called as our pastor. In 1952, we bought this property here, which goes from the parsonage up to Terrell Street, for $15,000. And I forgot to mention, in 1951, a first-class carpenter, painter, machinist at the refinery was making a little less than $1 an hour. A little less than $1 an hour. So when we decided to buy this property from Mr. Justice for $15,000, we didn't have any money. We just barely had a living. So the people said, well, will you be responsible for $1,500? Oh, I said, sure. Well, I'd have had to stole the money. There was no way at $1,500, my word. Anyway, that's how we bought this property, $15,000. In 1950, well, let's see. The property out here where the garden has been, had a 2-room house and a chicken coop. And the street was like a driveway off of 32nd Street. It wasn't a street. So we cleaned out the house and the chicken coop, and that's where we had Sunday school, and there was 4 trees. So if it was real hot, we'd sit under the trees, for Sunday school. So then we began our first auditorium which is where the office is in the wing out here in 1952. Now, I heard a story about Brother Carlos McLeod. He was the head of missions for the state of Texas, and he was living on a cotton farm out of Dallas. And he said one time that he'd heard these preachers say that the Lord had to call them 2 or 3 times before they decided to give in. He said, I was out chopping cotton and the Lord just called me one time. He said, it didn't take me long to get out of that cotton patch. Well, we were building this building over here, and do you have any idea how many shingles is on that roof over there? Well, the Air Force called me in November, and they didn't have to call but one time. I left that shingle roof and went in the Air Force. But Brother Simon Levine and Brother Forrest Rajo were our church members who were our construction leaders. That building was remodeled in 1956, and it was upgraded again in 2011. And in 1953, we started a mission down on 32nd Street called South Groves Baptist. And in 1955, we began a 2-story building. The auditorium down here cost $25,000. Now, we didn't have any money. All we had was desire and labor. So there was no labor involved in this stuff. We did the work ourselves. There was a 2-story building out here. We started that in 1955 at the cost of $29,000. Well, we really coming up, you know. Well, that building was tore down in 1972. In 1956, we built a parsonage down here, First Lumber in Port Arthur furnished the material, and it cost $25,000. That's a bargain.
It is.
All right, 1958, we began the educational building, which is this building here. And that was $100,000. On our 20th anniversary, we burned the note. We were tax-free, debt-free, and guess what? In the same meeting, we decided to go in debt for $235,000 to build a new auditorium. So it's kind of like when you get your car paid for, you say, man, golly, there's $500. Then you go the next day and buy another car. So that's about the way we did. The sanctuary was dedicated with a slight delay. Our contractor passed away, so we had a little delay there. But our 25th anniversary was in 76. We had a revival. 35th anniversary was we burned the note. So since 1986, we've been debt-free. 1986. That's not a record, but it's a long time.
Yes.
In 1991, on our 40th anniversary, we had a 2-day revival. Not 2 weeks, 2 days. And Brother Rogers, Brother Cadwallader, Brother Sanders, and Brother Steve Melton led in this 2-day revival. In 2001, on our 50th anniversary, our former pastors came, And unfortunately, we've had 4 people that we had 2 people that were prisoners of war in World War II. One of them was captured by the Russians, and he could speak French. So he befriended a Russian that could speak French, and this Russian guard arranged for him the gate to be unlocked and for transportation to be down the road and when to leave. So he escaped. He got down the road and found an American Jeep on the side of the road. So Brother Swallow jumped in the Jeep and took off, and the first thing he ran up on was a the British Army. So he joined them. 3 months later they were captured, so he was captured again by the Germans. So Brother Swallow was captured twice. Brother Merton Pittman was a radio operator on a B-24. They were on their return from Germany back to Italy, and his plane got hit, and he helped the men out of the plane, but he said he couldn't get out. So as things went on, he said the next thing he knows, I'm hanging by a parachute. I have no earthly idea how I got out of the airplane. So, and then we have had 2 men. Brother Mike Daly was wounded in Korea, in Vietnam, went to the hospital, got recuperated. They sent him back on the line, and he got killed. And then Brother Purser was in Vietnam, and his helicopter got blown up. So we've had 4 people involved in this. In 1973, our facilities was worth $430,000. Our largest membership was 718. Our largest average Sunday school attendance was 275 to 300. So this is the building part of Friendship Baptist Church. So we're glad y'all are here.
I've asked Brother Harold Lawson to come and share. Since we shared Harold with you, he's going to come and share now.
I can't orate as a professor, but because I was a PE coach. I can't orate as a professor, but I was just a PE coach, so I had volume out on the football field. That's all I've got to offer. I'm just going to share the pastors and ministers in music that ministered here at Friendship, and I may need some help on some of the early ministers in music. I'll give you the dates from October 1951 to February of 1959. J. Harold Lindenmeyer, who was our pastor. His wife was Kathleen, and that's Miss Mary Ruth's uncle. Yes? And then from 1959 to 1963 was Brother Max Murphy and his wife Eloise. And then from 1963 to 1974 was Brother Reese T. Sanders and his wife Laura Lee. And then from 1975 to 1978, Brother Delman Rogers, wife Frances. 1978 to 1980, Brother C.S. Cadwallader and wife Dorothy. April 1982 to June 8, 1987, Brother Steve Melton and wife Darlene. And then from May 1988 to August 2006, Brother Dennis Whitmire, his lovely wife, Miss Eileen, who are here today. Thanks for being here. And from June 2007 to June 2012, Brother Chris Bottoms, his wife Trish. And then from 2012 to 2019, Brother Travis Cox, wife Carlin. The ministers of music, the Brother Charlie Lindenmeyer, who is Miss Mary Ruth's dad, ministered in music, and he and Jimmy Lawrence are the two that I think were early. Does anyone know of any other names that led? That's all.
That's the only one I can remember.
Okay, it's all we can remember. Then they served, I guess, under Brother Lindenmeyer and Max Murphy. And then under Brother Reese Sanders, there was a Brother Carol English, Claude Gossett, who I believe was he full-time? Correct? He was full-time music and youth, so that's the only full-time music minister that Friendship has had. And then after him was Brother Dean Stiff and myself. Well, I'm sorry, then Glenn Strain and then myself, and we all ministered under Brother Sanders. And I ministered here from 1974, May of 1974, the official call, to April of 1991, and the Lord led me to go to Central Baptist. And Brother Raymond Burnett led music here from 1991 to 1996, and this was under Brother Dennis. And then I came back in February 23rd of 1997 until the present. I had the privilege of serving under 7 of the 9 pastors at Friendship, and thank you, Lord, for that, for the ministry. Those who surrendered to special service that we have record of, that made decisions, were Miss Evelyn Tully, Grady Cockerham, Wayne Cooley, Rod Morgan, Monty Hanks, Anita Combs, Mike Combs, Gene Smith, Joe Nash, Caleb Wallace, and Butch Granger. Are there any others that anyone may know of? That's just what we had on record. Any others that surrendered to special service or ministry? Okay, that's it.
I have the privilege of introducing to you the excuse me, the charter members that are here today. And you've already met Brother Thurman Allred, so I would like to show appreciation to each of these charter members. Miss Mary Ruth Lindenmeyer Rydell, would you stand or raise your hand? Miss Peggy McGuire Morgan. Peggy, where are you? All right. She had the lead. And Miss Doris Hiphill Webb. Doris? Right there. Brother Phil.
Hey, Beverly.
Oh.
I went right over the top of it. Beverly Levine Parker. Thank you.